Hello and welcome to Dugout Debrief. I'm your host, Chris DeLuca. This is Boom Broadcasting's one, first, and only baseball-centric podcast, and this is our second show here in the month of May, as we had one last Thursday on the 1st, and we're going to have one here this Thursday on the 8th. We're about 30 and a half or so games into the year, and we got a decent amount to talk about. For the first time since the early regular season, we actually have a few different news headlines to go and talk about here. And the first one is going to be a hats off moment, as I've kind of brought into this show. It's going to be Ross Stripling announces his retirement. The one time All Star, played 9 seasons for the Dodgers, Blue Jays, Giants, and A's. Played for 3 different California teams plus a Canadian team. And he was pretty solid for the Dodgers for a while, part of that mid to late 2010s pitching rotation with him, Kershaw, Rich Hill, that generation of Dodgers, right around when we made the NLCS against the Cubs and then made the 2 straight World Series. So, hats off Ross Stripling to a great career, retired earlier this week. The Arizona Diamondbacks dropped a new City Connects, and I honestly like it. The purple and teal pays homage to their late 90s, early 2000s uniforms. Those 2-part uniforms, especially, I really liked. I really missed like the pinstripes and the 2 parts, but this is a cool touch. I'm actually debating, despite being a division rival of my favorite team, I'm debating buying a Arizona Diamondbacks hat, just the S. I think it's a lot better than that weird tan serpent hat that they had. So good job, Diamondbacks. Some of these City Connects have been pretty hit or miss. Last week we talked about the White Sox. One, I'm not big outside of paying homage to the Attack of the Ketchup People uniforms of the 70s. I thought combining something with a NBA team just really didn't fit. MLB combining with an NBA, it's like 2 different sports. Next, the Texas Rangers placed Lodi Taveras on waivers. News claimed by the Seattle Mariners. The vet has had on and off been pretty good, but the Mariners picked him up. And Hae-Sung Kim, finally, he got his call up to the Dodgers. The legendary KBO player got his first hit against the Miami Marlins on Monday. So I got him in fantasy baseball. I'm going to be starting him here on and off because Andres Jimenez has kind of struggled. Jimenez was my second baseman. So Kim I drafted. I'm in a keeper league. So also had Justin Steele too. I think I mentioned that earlier. So that's not fun. But Kim, I think, was a good pickup. I also got him, Terang, Adley Rutschman too. So we'll talk about that. I'm debating doing a fantasy-based episode potentially around the All-Star break or maybe even earlier. I know a lot of people aren't super into fantasy baseball, but I think it'll be an interesting concept to talk about. And I hate ending the news segments on sad things, but I got to talk about it. Mike Trout is heading to the IL again, and this just sucks. He had 106 at-bats this year. He batted 179, and he just became a huge what-if, and despite being a future Hall of Famer. And there are very few players like him in that sense, where it is a what-if if you would have played longer. But you're still going to be in the Hall of Fame / already are in the Hall of Fame. You got to say he's going to be up there with those guys. I mean, the only other one that I could think of, and was a very tragic one, it's not injury, it was a sudden passing, and that was Roberto Clemente. It was a very big what if, despite the fact that he was a guaranteed Hall of Famer even before he passed away. So obviously much different circumstances, but again, it's a rare instance where you have someone who is as good as Trout, who, had multiple MVPs, yet has not played really at a Trout level since 2002. The last season where he played over 140 games was 2016. He won MVP that year, and he also won MVP in 2019, where he only played 134, which is just really crazy. And like I said, 2022, I think he finished 5th or 6th in MLB MVP voting. So again, just a huge what if, and we hope that he can get healthy. I've been saying that and saying that and saying that. So is everybody else. But with that being said, this is our final ranking best players by each position in their division episode. We're going to start with the AL West. And we got a starting pitcher here, and this one was kind of hard. Our honorable mentions include J.P. Sears, who's off to a great year. I actually want to give a quick just mentioned told J.P. Sears here this year. He's a 4-2 with a 2.93 ERA, and he's just been good. I mean, I've been big on this guy since the Yankees traded him away, despite the fact that he did pick up the loss against the Mets in his most recent start. He only had 3 earned runs. And he got 7 strikeouts. I mean, he's not a huge strikeout pitcher necessarily, but he pitches around the zone. He hits the corners really well. So I'm going to be going JP Sears, an honorable mention, and Brian Wu as well, who I think can be a huge anchor of that Seattle Mariners pitching rotation as well. So those are our 2 honorable mentions. But again, for the AL West, it's kind of hard to pick one, but I'm going to be picking a guy who I've been big on for a while, who I think will continue to be worth the money that they're paying him. He was actually drafted by the Dodgers, and that's Nathan Eovaldi. Nathan Eovaldi is a 2.03 ERA. He's 3-2, and he's arguably the best pitcher right now in the AL West. So, the Texas Rangers, Nathan Eovaldi. Relief pitcher. So this is another hard one because you have a guy who's kind of off to a rough year, who's my choice, and you have a guy who's doing pretty solid this year, but his career-wise is a lot better. At some point, there was even people talking about him being potential Hall of Famer, but so hard as a relief pitcher, and he's off to a good year. And that's good. My honorable mention will be Josh Hader, who's at a 1.8 ERA this year, but my actual pick is going to be Mason Miller. I mean, the way that guy throws, how hard he throws, he is averaging 101 to 102. And I think that he is going to probably be the best closer in the American League here within the next few years, especially if Emmanuel Clase continues to struggle like he did in the 2024 playoffs and into the 2025 season. Even though Miller's off to a slower start, he's still shown signs that he is going to go back to his 2024 form. So relief pitcher, give me Mason Miller. We have another catcher. We have a Seattle Mariner here. We got Cal Raleigh. I kind of struggled to find an honorable mention for this one. I would have actually put the choice for first baseman as an honorable mention, but they moved him to first base this year. So yeah, Cal Raleigh, he's been really good. He's been above average. Obviously, the Mariners paid him, but so far in 2025, he has a 246 batting average. He has 12 home runs already, and he has a 1.8 WAR, which is something you don't see with a lot of catchers. First base, Tyler Soderstrom, guy I actually have in fantasy. Part of that new generation of A's, along with guys like Lawrence Butler, the aforementioned Mason Miller, Brent Rooker, Jacob Wilson, who's off to a great year, another guy I have in fantasy. I got a lot of A's, got a lot of AL West people. It's weird. Again, I gotta go over this on a episode. So yeah, Cal Raleigh and Tyler Soderstrom are catcher first base. My honorable mention for first base is Christian Walker, who the former Diamondback signed with the Astros, and he's off to a hot and cold year. And with that being said, we're going to go move over to second base, and we're going to go with Marcus Semien. And he's off to a bad overall start. And again, the obvious choice in previous years would be Jose Altuve. The issue is Jose Altuve has moved to left field. So I kind of got put in a weird situation with this because Semien career-wise would probably be the second best second baseman in the AL West behind Jose Altuve, but they moved Altuve to left field. And left field-wise, he's not very good defensively, and he's not having a very good year in general, but career-wise, he's guaranteed Hall of Famer minus the cheating accusations and all that, which we've already talked about that before. And it's an interesting subject to talk about because who knows if they get in the Hall of Fame, because they got 2-3 guys on that are part of that team that are Hall of Fame caliber. Anyway, Marcus Semien's my second baseman. My third baseman, I got a former Tampa Bay Ray, Houston Astro now. I got Isaac Paredes. Third base was a little bit hard. I got the Texas Ranger Josh Jung as my honorable mention. Shortstop is actually a lot harder than you think. I have 3 honorable mentions. 1, 2, 3 honorable mentions, which is probably the most that I think I've had for any position in this list so far. So my first honorable mention is going to be J.P. Crawford, a guy that about 2 years in a row now I've been really big on. He's kind of been on and off, but he's off to a good year this year, batting .292 in 113 at bats, 1.7 WAR. And, he has the top 16 MVP finish, the one Gold Glove in 2020. But I think that he can get back to that Gold Glove status. It's just really hard because shortstop is so stacked. I mean, like I said, we have 3 honorable mentions here. My next honorable mention is going to be a guy that I did kind of mention here a couple moments ago, and that's Jacob Wilson. 341 batting average this year, 3 home runs, 47 hits. And, I think that this guy can be really, really good in the long term. He's part of that young A's core. He's slugging for 49. He has a OPS of 817, OPS plus of 132. And he's almost at a 1 whole game WAR, which is really good for a guy who I think this is going to be his qualified rookie year. Don't quote me. But yeah, the former first rounder out of Grand Canyon, Jacob Wilson will be an honorable mention. Then we have a guy who's finally breaking out as our last honorable mention, and that is the Angels' Zach Neto. This Angels' Zach Neto this year is finally having his breakout year. Another first-round pick. He's in year 3. He kind of struggled on and off, but finally this year I think he's putting it together. He's batting .290. He has 4 home runs, 18 hits. So Zach Neto, the Angels, my honorable mention. But my actual pick here, I don't think that I can really go with anyone else, and it's going to be Corey Seager, who's batting .286. He had a slow start to the year, but this guy's a borderline Hall of Famer, at least on a Hall of Fame track. A 1.3 WAR this year, career-wise, 38.1 WAR. Former Dodger, just been worth every penny for those Texas Rangers. So yeah, 3 honorable mentions, and we go from 3 honorable mentions to our first tie because, as we were talking about before, Jose Altuve was moved to left field this year. And defensively, this guy is really, really struggling. And we have to kind of tie it because we have a natural left fielder who's been a left fielder his entire career. And we're going to go with Randy Arozarena as the other tie here. So it's Jose Altuve and Randy Arozarena. Arozarena off to a slow year. He's off to a slow debut with the Seattle Mariners in these past 2 years, only accumulating 2 WAR between the 2 years with them. Batting .218 this year. He's still struggling with the strikeouts, but I think that he can go back to his rookie of the year form. It's just going to take Seattle really investing in developing him, limiting the Ks and all that. So, and as for Jose Altuve, just a weak start to the year. He looked really, really rough around the edges in spring training, especially in left field. Looking, it's a hard position. The outfield is really, really hard. And I get why they moved him. It's to limit his injuries. He's getting up there in age. I think he's in his age 34, 35 season, something like that. And, he's been in the league now 15 years. I just pulled it up here at 15 years. He was an all-star last year, but this year he struggled with a negative WAR, but I think he can turn it around. He's batting .254. But yeah, moving on, we also have an honorable mention here. We got Wyatt Langford, who came up, a really good start last year. Another guy that I had in my fantasy league for a while. I ended up trading him. He was a keeper, obviously, but ended up trading him. Got a solid return. And then we got center field. We got arguably one of my favorite players in the game, a player that I've debated buying a jersey of, that despite the fact that he doesn't play in my team, and that is Julio Rodriguez. I'm a big J-Rod guy. Batting .221 this year, but .273 career. This guy is going to be amazing long term. Again, the Mariners outfield is fantastic. Give me J-Rod for center field. Right field, a weird one, but give me Mike Trout. We already talked about him in the news segment. Again, so what we do here, it is career. We're not counting injuries. We're not counting injured players. I made this right when he got injured. I wrote this. So, we'll make an exception here, but we can't not go Mike Trout. Guaranteed future Hall of Famer. For my honorable mentions, give me Adolis Garcia and give me Lawrence Butler, 2 guys who I'm really, really big on. Obviously, Adolis Garcia 2 years ago had that insane playoff run with the Texas Rangers. And then Lawrence Butler, who has been off to a pretty good start with the A's, part of that young up-and-coming A's team. Finally, we have DH. And this one's really hard because you have a guy who's really good career-wise versus guys having a really good season, guy career-wise not having as good of a season as the guy who's just having a good season. And that is going to be Yordan Alvarez is going to be my pick for DH. My honorable mention will be Brent Rooker, who had a fantastic Tuesday night. He's had a fantastic 2025. So we end up here today with 3 Astros. We got 3 Texas Rangers, 1 Angel, 3 Mariners, and 2 A's. And, who would have thought, last year before that we have 2 A's, by the way. So that's a really cool thing, I think, just to mention here. Next, we are going on to the National League, and this will wrap up this segment. By the way, this will at least wrap up this segment. We've been on here for a few weeks. We've been ranking the best players. I'm going to be brainstorming ideas. I'm going to be asking the Boom Broadcasting guys for some ideas. I have a couple that I have planned, in the early to mid-season. It can get kind of hard because usually we don't have a lot of news. I might be doing some player analysis, some more in-depth team analysis, but let me know if you have any ideas. I love sitting down, writing these scripts, going on Baseball Reference. I'm kind of a baseball nerd, as you can expect. And again, hats off to the Boom Broadcasting guys for giving me suggestions, giving me this opportunity to be on the show. So we actually will start off with a tie now for a starting pitcher because this is the most stacked out of all of them. We've gone through the AL and NL East, AL, NL Central. We've gone through the AL West, and now we're on the NL West. And by a mile, the starting pitcher position for the NL West is the hardest to pick. So we're going to go through honorable mentions. We got 3 San Diego Padres, kind of 1, 2, 3 San Diego Padres in honorable mentions. We got Michael King, we got Nick Pivetta, and we got Dylan Cease. Nick Pivetta, man, the worst start that he had was against New York, and he gave up 3 earned runs in 5 innings. This guy's been fantastic. I've been big on him. I think every single episode, I'm saying Michael Davis, mouthing off with Mike, one of you guys, you got to have a Nick Pivetta count of how many times I go and talk about this guy on my show. Heck, I've talked about him on the Gridiron Address once. I just used him as an example. I can't even remember why. I just used him as an example 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. Anyway, next we got a former Padre, Blake Snell on the Dodgers, honorable mention. He just went down with an injury, but he still gets the honorable mention. And then we got Zach Gallen, who had a fantastic start against the New York Mets, another guy that I started in fantasy that I was kind of about wanting to start, but I went ahead, started him. He went 7 scoreless or 7 with 7 1-run innings, got the win. So great start for Zach Gallen. But we actually go to our actual choices here. And we got number 1 here. We got Corbin Burnes, who's off to a pretty darn good start. He was obviously one of the prize pitching pieces of the offseason. He's off to a 3.58 ERA. But you got to look at him career-wise. Cy Young in 2021, he has had a top 10 Cy Young finish every single year since 2020. That is really good. Really wish the Orioles, for their sake, could have re-signed him. And then we got a Los Angeles Dodger here. We had a Los Angeles Dodger now mentioned. We have Los Angeles Dodgers, our actual choice. And we got Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who's off to a sub-1 ERA, 4-2, 1.5 ERA. And this guy has been amazing. Already 49 strikeouts. He had 105 last year. This guy is once again looking like he's worth every penny. Like I said, impossible to choose. Burnes hasn't had the best start necessarily, but he has a Cy Young. Yamamoto has been fantastic. And if I was to say a 3-way tie, I didn't want to do a 3-way tie. So I thought about it because I feel like 3-way tie kind of takes the, not legitimacy, it just takes the selectivity of it away. I would have gone Blake Snell and healthy. Healthy Blake Snell. Every other year, Blake Snell is fantastic. Snell was fantastic this year before he went down. So, relief pitcher. This was actually kind of a hard one. I was bouncing between Tanner Scott, even Jason Adam. I thought about him, but I went with Robert Suarez, the San Diego Padres. I went with Robert Suarez. He's been really good. He's been a big part of the Padres. Pretty hot start this year, keeping up with Los Angeles Dodgers, Arizona Diamondbacks. So yeah, give me Robert Suarez. Catcher, we got Will Smith. I went with Will Smith here. I think he's one of the best defensive and offensive catchers in the game here. He's off to a 3.09 batting average this year, 1.2 WAR, and already got 3 home runs, so still doing quite well. 19.8 WAR, 2-time All-Star career, and 2-time World Series champion. And give me the former Home Run Derby champion Elias Diaz of the San Diego Padres as my honorable mention for the number 2 position. First base, we have another Los Angeles Dodger. We have Freddie Freeman, who missed a little bit of time this year, but he's off to just another Freddie Freeman type of year. I mean, this guy is a cornerstone of 2 organizations. He was a cornerstone of 2 World Series championships. He was a cornerstone of the Atlanta Braves World Series. He's a cornerstone of the 2024 World Series with Los Angeles Dodgers. Obviously, the Statue of Liberty against the New York Yankees walk-off home run. And for honorable mention, give me Luis Arraez. And Luis Arraez is such a fantastic player to talk about. I mean, I could go on about this guy, and he might be one I go on about when I do these player analyses, because he's interesting when it comes to his batting average versus his value and everything else, even stuff that's usually associated with batting average, like base running. Super weird. But when I do that, I'm going to get into a lot more deeper metrics, player value metrics that I'll go over before. We got a third in a row with Los Angeles Dodgers for second base. We got Tommy Edman. This was actually probably the weakest position for the NL West. We got Tommy Edman here, who's starting in his second year with Los Angeles Dodgers, the former St. Louis Cardinals, batting .252 with already 8 home runs. They're calling him Tommy Walk-Offs. He went to the IL pretty recently, but again, I wrote it before he went to the IL. 1.1 WAR. Guy's already got like 3 or 4 walk-offs this year too. I think he's up there with Jacob Wilson of the Oakland A's for the most walk-offs so far. An honorable mention to San Francisco Giants Tyler Fitzgerald. So third base was super hard. I bounced back and forth because for honorable mention, you got a guy who was probably the best defensive third baseman of the 2020s, and then it's Matt Chapman, man, another guy I got in fantasy. Matt Chapman off to a little bit of a slow offensive start, despite having 7 home runs. He's batting .225, 1.8 WAR. Most of that just comes from that and fantastic defensive prowess that he has at the corner infield. But simply because this guy's been better career-wise, pretty much. He's also a very, very good defensive third baseman. Give me the San Diego Padres Manny Machado with a 58.9 career WAR, batting .300 this year with 3 home runs. And Machado's has been around a little bit longer, obviously. Chapman debuted in 2017. Machado debuted in 2012. So Machado's had more time, and this is where we take that career-wise into conversation here. But again, it's a lot closer than you would think. Shortstop is kind of one of those weird ones because you have 2 really good shortstops for honorable mention. I'm going to go mention those guys first. You have Geraldo Perdomo of the Arizona Diamondbacks. He was a major part of that World Series run they had 2 years ago. You got Xander Bogaerts, the former Boston Red Sox turned San Diego Padre, for my other honorable mention. And then the pick we have for shortstop is a guy who's a converted shortstop who's finally kind of settling in, I think, when it comes to his defensive prowess. He's one of the best players in the game. Give me Mookie Betts. You can't knock a Mookie Betts. And that's the thing, is despite the fact that he's still developing infield-wise, he's in his second, third year where he's doing this full-time. You got to go with him. I mean, he's a top 5 to top 3 best players in the game right now. He's batting .264. He's got 5 home runs, 33 hits, and 1.2 WAR. Future Hall of Famer, I think, guaranteed. Give me Mookie Betts. And we have our first San Francisco Giant now as we move into the outfield. We got a guy who was a lot of people didn't really talk about going to this year, but his guy I was kind of big on. He's been in the league since 2022, and you gotta do hats off to him because he's .257 this year, 5 home runs already, doing really well in the outfield as well. Give me Heliot Ramos. My honorable mention is Lourdes Gurriel Jr., and then we have our second San Francisco Giant, who is off to an absolutely breakout season with a 1.7 WAR, batting .312, 4 home runs. From Japan, we got Jung Ho Lee. Finally playing a full season here. He played 37 games last year. He's already in game 36. a guy I have in one of my random free leagues, fantasy wise, but his OPS 871, great. OPS plus 151. He's walked 11 times, only struck out 11 times. Only struck out 20 times, and already has 3 stolen bases, 4 home runs. Like I said, it's gonna be Jung Ho Lee off to a great start. Right field, I don't think I even need to elaborate very much. This is a guy who very likely will win MVP this year, or at least will finish top 3, and it's Fernando Tatis Jr. at a 2.3 WAR, batting .321 with 8 home runs. He is the best right fielder in the league, despite the fact that defensively he can be up and down. He came up as a shortstop, obviously, really struggled defensively at short, but yeah, give me Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field. Probably, again, top 5 player in the game. Can't say much about that. For honorable mention, give me a guy who just went the aisle as well, Teoscar Hernandez, Los Angeles Dodgers. Wishing him a speedy recovery. We also got Mike Yastrzemski, too, of the San Francisco Giants as an honorable mention. Been really good. He's been a cornerstone of that team in the past few years. And then Corbin Carroll, another great cornerstone of a team that made the World Series recently with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Great base stealer, great glove, great batting average, and he's developing some power too. So those are our honorable mentions. And then finally, we don't even need an honorable mention. We don't need to elaborate on it that much, but we will talk about him just for a second here because of how great he is and just to continue to admire him. It's Shohei Ohtani is our DH. I don't even think that you could make an argument for anyone else. But yeah, I mean, Ohtani has been having an Ohtani year. I mean, he's batting .296. He already has 10 home runs, 40 hits, 1.8 WAR. He is the man. He is leading the league in runs with 38, and I think he will continue to be at his MVP rate. I think that is going to be between him and Fernando Tatis Jr. for that MVP. The only thing that might limit Ohtani is that he's probably not going to be pitching till later in the year, if at all. And if he does pitch, who knows how he's going to be. I have mixed feelings about him pitching, to be honest with you guys. I think that they should maybe just consider not with how stacked the Dodgers rotation is. You don't want to re-aggravate stuff with his arm. He's had a few arm injuries in his career, but that's a conversation for another day. So with that being said, on this National League West best position player breakdown, we ended up with 2 San Francisco Giants, 3 San Diego Padres, 6 Los Angeles Dodgers, 1 Arizona Diamondback, and we ended up with 0 Colorado Rockies. We talked about them last week. I won't elaborate on them very much more. They have some solid players like Jordan Beck and Zach Veen and Michael Toglia, but none of them compare to the players we just mentioned here. So we have our updated power rankings here, and we got number 5. We got the New York Mets, who are just finished up a series with the Arizona Diamondbacks. The New York Mets are off to a really good start this year. They go and play the Chicago Cubs this weekend, a big weekend series, but 20-plus wins already. Next, we have the aforementioned Chicago Cubs, which you might be hearing about this here in a second. We have the Chicago Cubs at number 4. Number 3, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers, who they did drop 1 to the Marlins, and they're off to a pretty darn good start, too, in that brutal NL West. Next, we got the Seattle Mariners off to another great start. They've been on a hot streak. And number one, we got the Detroit Tigers, man, led by Tarek Skubal. You can't hate what they're doing. They're off to a great start. I think they're 8-7, something like that in their past. 7-3 in their past 10. So really good run. They also got the Rockies this weekend. So here's hoping that they can add on to that, the 6-28 or whatever Rockies. So with that being said, we're going to do our series of the week now. We have the Cubs versus the Mets. I mean, that's number 5 versus number 4 of my power rankings. I think that's going to be a huge determination of the way the divisions will look here in May, the way the wild card race will look here in May. So yeah, give me Cubs, Mets. And last but not least, we have our trivia question. We brought that back here. And last week, despite them being absolutely terrible the last 2 years, comically bad, ridiculously bad the last 2 years, the Chicago White Sox have a World Series win in this century. And it is 2005. Who did they beat? It's kind of a hard question because they used to be in the National League. It is the Houston Astros. So for this week, what 2 cities have Shannon, Podcast Smitty, the man who hosts Quick Hits, his favorite team. What two cities did they play in before they moved to Atlanta? And if you get one, hats off to you. If you get both of them, hats off to you twice. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Dugout Debrief. I want to thank you for tuning into this program. Tune into shows like the aforementioned Quick Hits. Tune into Hoops and Helmets. Tune into the Gridiron Address. Make sure you're watching Out of Pocket too. Michael Davis will be breaking down the Pittsburgh Steelers trading George Pickens away to the Dallas Cowboys. It looks like I'm going to need to buy another Steelers jersey. I might talk about that if I have some time here this weekend. But I want to once again thank you for tuning in, and I hope you guys have a great week. Enjoy the games.